Hi, I'm Ed Fuquay, Young Adult Librarian here at Woonsocket Terrace Public Library. I love poetry, and so do you. You probably just don't know it. The fact is, if you listen to music, if you have a favorite song, then you're a fan of poetry, because a song is nothing but a poem set to music. And if you're a fan of rap or hip hop, then obviously you're into poetry, because those art forms are nothing but words and a beat, which is all poetry really is. Now, if you think poetry is something mostly written by dead white guys a long time ago, you could not be more wrong. Poetry is a living art form. There's amazing works being done all the time in the world of poetry. A poem can change someone. A poem can move someone. And because a poem can be written by anyone, it's always been a way that people can speak truth to power. So, what is a poem? I'm glad you asked. You are very perceptive. A poem is any kind of communication, spoken, written, or sung, that's done with a rhyming pattern or a rhythm to it. Now, poems that rhyme. If you can make your poem rhyme, that is awesome. A rhyme is like a hook that makes the poem stick in people's memory. But not everyone is a natural at rhyming. What happens frequently is that poets tend to change the message of their poem to meet the rhymes, rather than changing the rhymes to meet the message in the poem. So if a rhyme doesn't come to you automatically, feel free to abandon that and not worry about it. You can do your poem with a rhythm instead. That's the beat of the poem. Now, I can talk for hours about the different kinds of rhythm patterns that there are in poetry, like iambic pentameter that William Shakespeare used. But it's not really important that you know the names of all those things. Most people have a natural sense of rhythm to them. The poem is something that you're writing, so it should have a rhythm that sounds good to you. You can control the nature of the poem by making short lines and long lines. A long line will slow the poem down, a short line will speed it up. If you want a poem to go faster in people's minds, just looking at the paper you can tell to a certain extent how the poem is supposed to be read. Now, how to write a poem. It's really simple. All you need is a paper and a pencil or a computer with a word processor, and that's really all you need to write a poem. But the most important thing you need is something to write about. You need a topic. Now, I've never met any of you, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you are all unique individuals. Every single person in the world sees everything slightly differently. No one else can look at the world through your eyes. So it's your job to take the way you see the world and bring that out and communicate to other people. You have to think about your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. What kind of things do you see in the world that no one else seems to spot? What kind of feelings do you have? Maybe things you've never told anyone. What is your inner life really like? Try to find a way to take things that you're passionate about, things that really matter to you. Take things that are incredibly important to you and write them all down. Take all that passion inside of you and put it into words. A good poem should flow from one person's heart to another person's heart. Now, when you write, try to find an interesting way of putting your thoughts into words. Poems are like a dream. Try to speak in the language of metaphor. When she walked out on you, it didn't feel bad. The day she said goodbye to me, it was like she'd hit me in the chest with a hammer. That's what separates poetry from prose. Now, the other thing that separates poetry from prose is the amount of words that you use. A novel is really thick. Even a short story has a lot of words. A poem should be able to tell a story just as good as a short story or a novel, but with a lot less words. So take what you've written, that subject you feel so passionately and so deeply about, and squeeze all the extra words out of it. Try to say only exactly what you want to say. Try to say only the things that you absolutely need to say to communicate that thought or feeling to an audience. You need to take your subject and focus it down like a laser. A poem should be short, it should be sharp, it should cut like a razor. So when you've done all that, take all that and get it into your poem and put it down on paper, and when you're done, you have a poem. Now, I come from a background of slam poetry and performance art poetry. So I believe that poems should be taken off the page and put on the stage. I think they should be performed. You don't have to do that, but even if you never plan on performing your poem, do try reading it out loud. This is your poem, it's your thoughts and emotions, and it has to sound good to you. It has to be done in the rhythm of your voice. So if you read it aloud and something sounds off to you, then go back and change it. Adjust the pattern of the poem, change some of the words, take out a few syllables here and there. So when you speak, it's in the rhythm of your voice. That way, everything that you have, the important things that you want to say, that you need to say to the world, will come out, and everyone will be able to hear and understand what you want to say, because poetry is about communication. Thank you all for listening.